everybody. How's it going? There it is. Oh, man, my cheeks hurt from smiling for 90 minutes. Welcome back to the stage, Sean Young.
It's been a long time since I've seen that picture. I mean, 1982?
93.
Was it? No, I think it, okay, maybe it was. Was it released in 93?
93.
Okay, so we made it in 92. Yeah, so it's been a while.
So you get the script and you're reading over it and you see he buffs her butt.
I don't even know if that was in the original script. I think we got to the spot and I said, Carl, why don't we just buff my butt? You know? Yeah. Oh, you know, I love watching that after all these years, just to know that I was actually had that good of a butt. I loved my butt in that scene. Oh my God. No, that was fun. Sorry. No, it's not all about my butt.
This is definitely a movie when you see it and you're like, man, Sean Young's a good sport. you get shaving cream all over your face, you have your butt buffed.
I'm still a good sport, actually, these days. I really am. I've always been a good sport. But it's very interesting to see Armand in that picture because this was the first movie that Armand did that was kind of outside of the realm of pictures that he had done, because he had always kind of played serious sort of bad guys or outside characters or FBI guys and stuff like this. And so this was very outside of Armand's sort of comfort zone. And we had a bet on this set that he wouldn't put the red shoes on. We were like, no, he's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. And then when he finally got those red shoes on and he was dancing all around me, I was like, oh. We did not think he was going to do that at all.
Was he trained as a dancer? Because he's pretty good in those red shoes.
He's very good in the red shoes, but no, he was kind of, if you think about it, wasn't he in, what's the movie with Goldie Hawn, Private Benjamin,
Yeah.
And he plays, that's, I think, the first movie that Armand did that people sort of kind of noticed him. And he did such a good job with it. They actually thought he was foreign. He plays a foreign person that she sort of gets involved with and doesn't have the New York accent and he has like a foreign accent in Private Benjamin. And I remember seeing him in Private Benjamin and going, who is that? You know, like we hadn't seen him before. Nobody had seen him before. And then he did a couple of other pictures. And this one was the first one that he did that was kind of zany and outside of his, you know. And I thought Armand did a really great job with this. Yeah.
He steals the show a few times with doing the straight guy.
It was a fraternity prank. Yeah. That was really one of my favorite lines in the whole thing.
How did you, when you're in scenes with him, did you have to stop from cracking up? Because he's so funny in this.
You know, I had already done Stripes, and I had already done, Young Doctors in Love, and I had already done, maybe those were the only two comedies that I had done. And one of the things that I'm not bragging right now, but I think I did a really good job in this, in the sense that I made it funny. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't lose it. And I thought Sherilyn Fenn did a great job too. But it's really easy in comedies to lose your way because everybody's having a great time. And on a comedy, you kind of, when you're a professional and you're working, you kind of have to not leave it in the green room. You have to bring it in front of the camera. And a lot of times people are having such a good time on comedies that they laugh too much and then they don't bring it to the screen. Like I did Ace Ventura and Jim, believe it or not, Jim Carrey was not a guy that was laughing all the time when he wasn't in front of the camera. He's not like, ha 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 ha, and he's a funny person. He would do everything that was that high energy and he would kind of come back and sit. And in a way, that's kind of the secret to making good comedies, is not to leave all the energy not in front of the camera. Like on Young Doctors in Love, I think we left it on the floor and didn't put it on the camera because we were all having such a good time and there were so many young people working on the show that we were like yucking it up all the time. And what you learn as a professional is you have to retain the energy and not give it away before they call action. I mean, basically, that's comedy as far as I'm concerned. So I worked, having done those other shows, and left a lot of that comedy on the floor and not in front of the camera, went, ha 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 ha, just, sit still, be quiet, and then go and do your thing. If you're too funny off camera on a comedy, you can disperse or diffuse the energy of what you're trying to do in a comedy, because comedy is much harder than drama, in my opinion.
I've always heard that working on comedies can be more stressful than working on like a horror movie or a sci-fi movie, which you've done all kinds of movies.
I don't think it's stressful. I think it's just more disciplined. You have to be more disciplined. And I guess in a certain sense, if discipline is difficult for you, then it would be more stressful, But you have to have some ability to sort of hold back and retain. And the whole thing about working on a set, it's a bit different nowadays, because the Gen Xers and the millennials are now realizing that they have the ability, the access to the technology, but those ideas are everything. They're everything now, because we can get those things made, but then you watch it and you're like, well, what's that? What is that? Making a good show it takes discipline, not just from the idea to the finding the money to make it, to putting your crew and your group together, to getting everybody together, and then going in flight to actually make the picture, and then finding the people who are going to distribute it. All of that is shifting now. And so it's like, oh, holy Jesus, right? Like, how are you going to get all those ideas as a filmmaker? How are you going to get all of those things to come together? But comedy makes it so much more, oh, thank you, God bless you. Service, thank you.
Thank you.
It takes so much, the best word that two words, restraint. Meaning you gotta, the first word would be, if you're a filmmaker and you're somebody that wants to try to put these ideas out. I mean, maybe none of you are filmmakers, it doesn't matter. I'm just talking about
Austin, they're all filmmakers.
I know, right? Right. We're trying to find the idea is that first thing. What I found interesting about this, seeing it after all these years too, is that it's a parody. And parodies are difficult. And I realized watching it tonight too, because I thought, why didn't this movie make money the time it came out? Because parodies are difficult. And I think that this movie would do better with almost like 5-year-olds watching it nowadays. Because everybody's so immersed with the culture that we're all living in now, that a 5-year-old would get this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I can find it really interesting, but I think in 1992 or so, when it came out, 93, I'm not sure they released it at the right time, but I'm not sure that the parody completely worked.
Yeah.
I don't think it completely worked at that time.
I think you can sense Carl Reiner and the screenwriter too being disinterested with parodying, Basic Instinct, and more interested in the classic noir stuff too, which maybe was seemed a little creaky to audiences then.
Well, he kept on saying to me, "This is a parody,"
Yeah.
and I kept on saying, "What's a parody again?" I wasn't really sure what parody meant. I know that sounds silly, but
Sure.
I didn't. I was like, so what does that mean? What does that mean? We're making fun of stuff. Are we making fun of stuff? Or we're comparing it to something that's already happened. And there's all these times in the movie where, we're making fun of something that was in a previous movie. And then I guess maybe everyone who would watch this picture would have to be familiar with the previous pictures, which may not have been the case.
Right.
So I think it'll age well.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think it'll age well. And it was fun actually to see it again after all these years.
Now, did you get sat down and did you have to watch these movies to prepare for your role?
I don't remember. Honestly, this was 1992. I had been through the 80s. The 80s were really challenging, I have to tell you. I mean, especially since I was probably one of the only people in the 80s who didn't do coke. I didn't do coke, and everybody I knew did coke. Bill Murray did coke, Harold Ramis did coke, John Candy did, John Larroquette did coke, I mean, Harrison Ford did coke, Rutger Hauer did coke. I mean, everybody did coke. Everybody did coke. I didn't do coke.
I've heard from other people in the industry, it was written into budgets. Like
right.
they would have
No,
coke. That's not a joke.
I don't even know if that's true, but it seems like it was true because there was always coke around, and I was always going like, "You want some coke?" And I was like, "No." And I was sort of considered a weirdo because I wasn't doing coke, and it was a very vain reason why I didn't want to do coke, because I thought, I'm a beautiful woman, I'm not going to do coke, it's going to wreck my looks, I'm not going to do that. I'm not doing that. That was my only vain reason. It wasn't like, I'm not curious, but it was just like, no, it's not good for you. And any other white drug, I always say the white drugs are the ones to avoid. Everything white drugs.
If you take nothing else home tonight, no white drugs.
No white drugs. Green drugs, okay.
Again, it's Austin, and
that's right.
They're all pot smoking filmmakers.
Good. Very healthy.
Speaking of white drugs, all the smoking in this movie, were you actually a smoker, or was that a difficult
On and
thing?
off from, I was always a smoker because of Blade Runner. In fact, I smoked in high school, but not a whole lot. But I started to smoke a lot when I got on film sets, and particularly Blade Runner, because I was supposed to smoke in the picture. But I never went home and smoked because I didn't like my home smelling like smoke. So I would go to work, and I was like an office smoker. I could smoke at work, but I would never let anybody come home and smoke in my home. And I always smoked at work because all the actors smoked. And I was like, oh, can I blow a cigarette? And we would all smoke together. It was almost like a little Indian, boo, 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 smoke, and we would all be actors together smoking. And then, of course, when you get older, you work less and less. And I never smoked when I wasn't working. I would go home and I wouldn't even think about smoking. And then the time between when I would work and when I would get to work, I'd be not working more than I would be working. And I'd get to work, I'd be like, give me a cigarette, and I'd be like, no wonder I don't smoke. This sucks. This is horrible. I hate smoking. And I'd be like, ugh. And I wouldn't smoke anymore. And then I think the last time I smoked a cigarette on a set, I can't remember when it was, actually. It's been so long. Just because smoking, the older you get, just is shitty. I have to have a few drinks in me to really actually want to smoke. I never bring it home, and I never, yeah. Thank God that's the case.
So I have to ask about Sherilyn Fenn, because I had such a crush on her from Twin Peaks. So what was it like working? How did you know Sherilyn Fenn?
Sherilyn and I had a little bit of a competition, and I didn't think of it as a competition because I had, of course, already done Blade Runner, and I don't think she had gone on yet in 92. She hadn't done Twin Peaks yet.
Right, she would have been
just
about to do.
So she hadn't quite reached her, her little moment. She was sort of on the up and up, and I had already done, quite a few pieces. So she was very competitive with me, and I was always like, Sherilyn, please stop that. You don't need to compete with me, okay? I love you. You're gorgeous. You're wonderful. Stop that. But she had met a guy on the set of this movie. His name was Toulouse, and he was a crew member. And then she got pregnant with him, and then she ended up having his baby, and then she was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I'm like, well, have the baby, Why not have the baby? And she was very kind of freaked out a lot of the time because she got pregnant halfway through the show. And there were times when she would come to me and say, want encouragement. And honestly, the truth, in terms of my own feeling about females, I always think there's room for all of us. Do you know what I mean? And this is a strange thing to say, but beautiful women, believe it or not, don't get that much sympathy in general. We get attention, and we get people, like pawing us and shit like that, but it's not the same thing as, it's slightly different. We don't get that much sympathy. So I tried to give Sherilyn a lot of sympathy and a lot of caring because I was older, slightly older. And I was like, I'm your friend. just relax. But she had a lot of stress during it because she got pregnant during the show. Now, I saw her 2 years ago, and she's extremely happy that she had this baby.
Okay.
Yeah, because what happens is we go, oh my God, I'm pregnant, what am I going to do? And I'm an actress, and I can't be an actress and be pregnant, and what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So a lot of people, have to face that decision and make a choice, and she made the choice to have the baby, and she's really happy that she did. But it was like, Sherilyn was a little crazy during the show. She was a little crazy because she had gotten pregnant. I mean, that's just what happened,
I like that the movie is about just what idiots men are too. Like the male characters in this movie are just such bozos. I feel like that's gonna resonate, I think, with generations to come.
I don't think men are not actually stupid. I know that's the sort of going thing now that we're all supposed to call our men stupid. And it's not that there aren't stupid men, but I just think that we're living in a culture that tries to tell us that now we're supposed to call our men stupid, and I just refuse to do that. I love men, and I think men are wonderful, and I just want all men to realize that women love them. We want them and we love them, as even if we're a gay woman. We love our fathers and we love our brothers and we love our sons, and you know what? We love our mothers and we love our sisters and we love our daughters and our grandmothers, and I don't give a flying fuck what the media says. We are responsible for creating that love among ourselves, period. And that's how I feel about it.
A message of love and positivity. Thank you.
Yeah, well, or God dang it, come on, love and positivity. Like we have to clear this crap away and actually realize that all the people in our lives, whoever they are, of whatever race, including white people, and black people and Mexicans and gays and whites, it doesn't matter. If they're in your tribe, that's it. We have to be loving towards them, and that doesn't mean that we can't say, hey, you know what you did yesterday kind of pissed me off. Oh, it did? Oh, I didn't mean that. Oh, okay, I just wanted to tell you how I felt. Oh, I'm so glad you told me how you felt. We need to actually take responsibility for how we feel and communicating that to the people in our lives.
So speaking of love, I'm sure the audience would love to ask some questions here before we. So I can take a few questions here. I saw a hand there.
Yeah, in the film Invader, you sing the Peanut Butter and Jelly song.
Oh, I can't believe you saw that.
Are you doing any future musical endeavors?
I was always a pretty good singer. I was always a much better dancer. I can carry a tune. I'm not terrible. I don't have a terrible ear, but I look at it with all these fabulous up-and-coming singers, which there are so many up-and-coming singers who are so wonderful. I figure let them do it. You know what I mean? Because there are so many up-and-coming fabulous singers that could do much better than I could at this point.
In the middle?
First of all, I gotta say, this is one of my favorite comedies of yours, but another one is Once Upon a Crime, which I think is such a hoot, and I love that movie so much, and you're a lot of fun with the toxin and everything. But I have this movie on Blu-ray, and Carl Reiner does commentary for the deleted scenes, and he says there's some deleted sequences of you like pole dancing.
I had him give me the whole pole dancing. I have actually in my archives the whole pole dance, which didn't end up in the movie.
No, he didn't. He said you trained like crazy for that, and I just want to say good job. You
did you see it?
Yes, I had the
I had never pole danced in my life before, and there was a guy that trained me to do it, and then shortly after the movie, it was a black guy named Phil who was a choreographer, and I forget his last name, but he lived in New York City, and we were even lived near each other, and then he died of a heart attack like shortly after this movie, and I was like, oh, what? Phil died? I was the last person you taught a dance to, and it was a pole dance? It was crazy. That was sweet of you to say. Thank you.
On that same commentary track, Carl Reiner also claims that you wanted to do some of your own stunts and he wouldn't let you. Is that true?
No, I did some of my own
You did some
stunts.
of them, okay.
Yeah, like at the very end of this picture, when I'm coming up the stairs, and then basically I throw myself against the wall, and then the stunt person takes over and rolls down the stairs. But I did actually, in that one little, that's where the altercation was. I said, I can do this, I can do this. Just put a mattress here, I'll do it, I'll do it. And so I threw myself against the wall and went that way, and then they cut to the person rolling down the stairs. And you could see that it was me going that way, and then they, cut. But I was always into doing my own stunts until one day I was doing some show in Vancouver called, it was with Kim Cattrall and Eric McCormick, and it's like Everything to Gain or exception to the rule. And Kim Cattrall, scary. She was playing a really scary bitch, and she was pretty convincing. And I wanted to do my own stunt. It wasn't much of a stunt. I was like going like this, and I went like that, and I like went, ugh. And then I always used to love to do my own stunts, and I was pretty fearless. I did a lot of my own stunts, and then I just did this little teeny thing, and it like fucked my back up, my neck up. And I went up, and I was like this for 2 days going, oh shit. And I didn't do them anymore after that, because I thought if I can get hurt doing that little teeny stunt, then my time is up, like I can't do them anymore. So I didn't do them anymore after that. But I used to love to do them because I had been a dancer, and they weren't hard for me to do up like in my 20s and 30s, and maybe even into my early 30s, into my 40s.
It's awesome. It's such a physical role, and you're so great.
I love the physical aspect.
Jumping on Armand.
I know. This was my favorite part. And this was something that Carl Reiner he laughed at when I'm on the table like this with the spinning wheels and everything. No. And we had we had these things on my feet, and I had 4 things I'm balancing. Right, I'm balancing 4 plates, and I had to go at the same time so that they would all fall off at the same time. And it actually took a little bit of coordination to do that, It was very funny. And he was like, darn, you're coordinated. And I said, well, I'm a tap dancer. What do you expect, So he very much appreciated my coordination and always made Carl's job easier. And he always knew it too, because he had come from this big background in comedy. Comedy is hard. It takes timing. I mean, honestly to God, drama, it's not that drama doesn't take timing, because it does, of course. But it's like a sewer of emotion. You're like, ugh. You have to walk in and you're like, ugh. You have to prepare to be depressed and upset and everything. And everybody's very aware when you're working on a drama. You're like, oh God, you got to be very careful of the actors and everything like that. But with comedy, I remember the first time I worked with Bill Murray on Stripes, and he walked on the set, and it was like, you know what? We'll do this. We won't need that. We'll do this. We'll do this. How about this? We'll do this. We'll try that. And it was so fast and furious. It's a totally different energy than trying to maintain drama. Not that drama can't be intricate, but comedy is so fluid that you can't drag your feet. You just can't drag your feet with comedy at all, because it changes like that. Because all of a sudden you think, oh, well, that was funny. Oh, well, that's not funny anymore. Let's try it this. Let's do that. Let's do this. Let's do that. And it's so fluid that you're like, fuck, am I going to be able to keep up? In Stripes, I completely couldn't keep up. All my lines got cut because I couldn't keep up. I was 20 years old. I was like, Bill Murray, couldn't keep up. But by the time Fatal Instinct came on, I realized that I would have to keep up, and that I would, if anything, I would have to come up with any kind of change. I would have to be thinking in the corner going, okay, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? All this thing when we go, I was like, why not do, if we're doing a comedy, why not do like the Three Stooges? I remember I went like this, right? We made that up as we went along. How are we going to do brother, or sister, mother, you know, all this stuff? How are you going to keep that fresh? You can't just repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. It morphs, it evolves, you know? And as a comedian, you gotta move, you know, you gotta move. You can't go back to first position. You gotta go, oh, what can I do differently this time? What can I do to keep it fresh?
We have time for a few more questions from the audience. Yep.
You worked with Michael Douglas in Wall Street. Did he ever contact you? You know, when you having learned that you're very Fatal Attraction and Basic Instinct?
Oh, hell no. I mean, I like Michael. He was fine, but he was having to work with Oliver Stone, and the only time I got to work with Michael was during Wall Street, and he was being tortured by Oliver the same as all of us were. And you know what? I would work with Oliver Stone in a New York minute. He's a talented director. He's a bit of a bitch, but he's a talented director. And he knows how to make a movie. You know, I don't know if you saw, oh, what did I watch with him recently? Shit, I'm gonna forget it because, oh, the history thing.
Yeah.
What was it called?
It wasn't People's History, but it's something like that.
He did this history thing recently. The history of the Americas, or the history of America. And I watched it like a month ago. I was in New York and I watched it. It was on like Netflix. I didn't even have whatever. Point is, I was someplace that had Netflix and I was watching it. And Oliver's actually moving into a new zone too. I know his son, Sean Stone, who's sort of in the conspiracy theory world, thank God. Sean, in the movie Wall Street, was the kid that I picked up, and he was supposed to be my son, and he weighed like 80 pounds, and he was only 4 years old. Seriously thick kid. And then, no, really heavy kid. And I remember going, oh my God, how is this kid this heavy, and he's only this tall? So I ran into Sean Stone, Oliver's son, in a spinning class in Santa Monica. And I looked at him, and he was like this now. And I said, oh no, please don't tell me you're Sean Stone. Because all that time had passed. And I thought, holy shit, you were this tall the last time I saw you, you know? Oliver is a very creative guy. I have a lot of respect for him. He's probably improved his behavior in a sense, because he was a bit of a shithead for, you know, quite a while he was, which I think he would even admit. But his son, Sean, I think reformed him and educated him. Sean's awesome. Sean is a very well-rounded, aware and awake individual, and I think he's helped Oliver tremendously, and I think Oliver really has appreciated it.
Did you try and lift him when you met him? Just to see
Did what? No. No. Seriously. Oh my God.
We can take one more question from the audience here. Who's got the best question? Oh, I see one hand back up there.
I was just going to ask how it was working with Christopher McDonald and John Witherspoon.
Christopher McDonald in what?
And John Witherspoon, like how they were like.
Which one's John Witherspoon? I know Chris.
The not-so-leading cop.
Oh, I don't remember knowing John that well. I remember being, like I said just a few moments ago, in a comedy, what I trained myself to do was to not lay my comedy in the green room. You know what I mean? So I would basically stick to myself. I would try to keep my energy in until it was time for me to go on. So I don't remember John that well, actually, because I didn't actually have that much interaction to him, because I was kind of playing my own role, and I was playing this sort of, you know, suspicious character that was going to try to bamboozle the dumb cop, you know. Who's the other guy?
Mr. McDonald.
Yeah, Chris and I would fool around, you know, joke around. Chris is very funny. He's very outgoing and very funny, and is a lot like Richard Lewis. I did Once Upon a Crime with Richard. Richard was constantly cracking jokes. And he's actually incredibly, I would say Richard Lewis, on a spontaneous level, probably the funniest guy I ever met, ever. Because he would just keep coming. And that's not to say that his routine or his presentation is the funniest I ever saw. And there's a difference in terms of being funny. There's natural humor. You know, we all know people who, no matter what they say, they can go, ugh, and it's funny. It's like, I don't know how you do it. You're always funny. And then there's some people that have to work at it, and they're good at it, and they understand the rhythm of comedy, and they know how to deliver that comedy, and they're awesome. And Chris was one of those people that was always very funny, always exceedingly funny, that could make you laugh a lot. And Richard Lewis was like that a lot too. He's just an exceedingly funny person. That was a good audience, ha ha, you know.
Well, thank you so much for coming out.
Thank you for coming out, you guys. I really appreciate it.
This movie's funny, and I think this is like the beginning of a new cult audience for this movie.
Oh, wouldn't that be funny? Well, we'll have to make it like, what's the one with Tim Conway? No, wait, Rocky Horror.
Rocky Horror, yeah.
Yeah, we have to figure out. Let's do it in Austin.
Yeah, people can bring skunks and hot dogs and
You're screwing my wife.
We can have fraternities come. Well, thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for coming out. Thanks. Take care.